Well, thank you very much indeed. It's a great privilege and honor to be here with the ambassadors and ladies and gentlemen. It's wonderful to be here on a cold, beautiful morning. When I woke up this morning, the cold weather made me think of a story about Finnish-Russian relations. And I thought I'd share this story with you. After the war, Finland and the Soviet Union fought a long and difficult war, and Finland actually lost quite a bit of territory to the Soviet Union then. And according to the story, there was a group, a border commission that was sent to actually mark down where the new border is going to go. And all of a sudden, in the middle of the wilderness, they come to a house, and there's a man chopping wood. And he doesn't know anything about what's going on, so they decide to be nice. So they ask the man, which side of the border, of the new border, would you like to live in the future? He thinks for a long time, and finally he says, on the Finnish side. Okay, that's fine, but tell us why. And he says, the Russian winters are so bloody cold. So I think that's the sort of pragmatic spirit that we live with here up in the north. Finland's history can be seen as a pendulum that has over the centuries gone from the west to the east, and to the west, and to the east. And I thought what I'd do today is go through about 200 years of Finnish history, look at these different directions, then look at the new direction of the north and what it means for Finland, and then finally add even a bit more history, about 500 years of history. So Finland's history as a pendulum. 200 years ago, as you all know, we said goodbye to Sweden. It was an amicable divorce, but as a result of one of those many wars, we were joined as part of the Russian Empire. So 200 years ago, it was from the pendulum swung from the west to the east. Then about 100 years ago, as we all know, it was from the east to the west. Once again, Finland gained its independence during the First World War and had to find a new direction, not only politically, but for its business. For example, our forestry business had been entirely dependent on the Russian market, and now all of a sudden we had to find a new Western market. Then 1944 was the year of the armistice between the Soviet Union and Finland. This is when the story happened, and this is when we actually concluded a couple of years later in 1948 a friendship treaty with the Soviet Union, and our business and political orientation went very much to the east again. And now back again. 1995 is the year when Finland joined the European Union and became part of the West and still are very much part of the West. So this has been the pendulum that has been swinging from side to side in Finnish history. Now, up until now in this story, political and business direction has always gone to the same way. But after the present crisis, the financial crisis that started in 2007, 2008, what's interesting is that politically we're still committed Europeans and trying to work out best possible solutions for the European crisis. But if you look at business-wise, we are looking more and more to the east. When it goes to small and medium-sized businesses, it's Russia. When you look at bigger global Finnish companies, it's the Far East, China, and the Koreas, and the rest of the Far East. So that's sort of Finnish history in 2.5 minutes for you. But the new thing, of course, is this, and this is why it's new. Up until now, it's been from the west to the east, but now there's a new direction, and the new direction is the north. The new north is, as most of you are familiar with, is a concept that has been developed and introduced by Professor Lawrence Smith from the UCLA. And these are the four sort of drivers of the new north. These four drivers, in his view, are making the North a most attractive place for both people and businesses: population growth, migration, natural resource demand, climate change and globalization. So this is what he calls the NORCs. Actually, they are not all countries, as we very well know. There's the state of Alaska, but these are the countries that he sees are going to be benefiting from these four drivers that were just described in the previous slide. And Finland, of course, is there, as well as our other neighbors in the north. This is, of course, as we all know, this means great opportunities for Finland. It's in terms of logistics, ice-breaking capabilities, shipbuilding, something that I think that should be called extreme engineering, which is engineering in very harsh conditions. This is what we've been doing in Finland for a very long time, as well as that they have in our neighboring countries. In Russia, they're very good at it as well, and Sweden, Norway, Canada. So these some of the things. Education. Finland has a population that's more concentrated in the north than some of the other NORCs, and that's why there are great opportunities, I think, for Finland in this area. And then, of course, the combination of tourism and mining that's driving growth here in Lapland. This is, of course, very good news, since if we look at Finland, one thing that's for sure, it is that all traditional industries are employing less and less people. They will employ less tomorrow than today, and even less the day after tomorrow than tomorrow. This is the trend, so something has to be done to this. And new drivers are therefore very much called for. We have entered a period that can be called post-Nokia Finland, and this post-Nokia Finland is actually upside down. When in the past investments went to the south, now they're going increasingly to the north. When business opportunities were found only in the south and in cities where they had paper and pulp plants, now business opportunities can be found across the country. There are more SMEs than ever, there are more services than ever. This is actually a very positive development and can be seen as a both difficult but also a rewarding period in Finland's history. Just look at Oulu, for example, where Nokia has closed down a lot of research and development and plants, and new global companies are coming in because of the expertise there and hiring these people that are being let go by Nokia. Nokia, by the way, is coming back, but unfortunately it's going to be employing most of their new people outside Finland. So this is the map of the new Finland. There's head office Finland in Helsinki. Most of the head offices, headquarters companies are there. Then there's technology Finland. On the western coast, there's entrepreneur Finland. They've always been very entrepreneurial, small businesses going globally, going to America, coming back with money to buy a house and so on. Then bioeconomy Finland is the old forestry that's being transformed to a bioeconomy. And then there's mining and tourism, and in this part and in eastern part of Finland to a great extent. And this combination is very good in many ways, and it has to be gotten right, of course, that tourism and mining can coexist. But it's in many ways, even a small detail. I was talking to a head of a mining company here, and he made a very sort of pragmatic observation, is that for them they see that the men go and work in the mines and the women go and work in the tourist industry. Okay, it may not sound very egalitarian, but that's the reality. There are now opportunities for both men and women in this region. And then there's St. Petersburg, Finland. As you know, if you go to the south east, what is it, Koillinen Kaakkois, eastern part of Finland towards the St. Petersburg area, there are more cars with Russian license plates than there are cars with Finnish license plates, and this is all good news. What should be done? I think railroad to the Arctic Ocean is still a good idea. I think that's something that we should be looking at. We need more Swedish speakers because there are opportunities together with the Norwegians and the Swedes. More Russian speakers are needed too. I'm studying Russian to show a good example. There's talk about the joint Finnish-Swedish-Norwegian study of the opportunities and obstacles in the region. I think there should and already is great cooperation between Canada, USA and Finland, 3 Arctic Council chairs. And as part of the activities that I think that the Canadian ambassador is going to tell us a bit more is to engage the business community more in the work of the Arctic Council.
During the recent visit of Canada's Minister for the Arctic Council, the Honourable Leona Agluka, she met with Dr. Penttilä and Mr. Rautioki at the residence, along with a number of senior business colleagues, to talk about business interests in the Arctic and in Canada, and we had a very fruitful discussion, so thank you very much for that. My government's Northern Strategy outlines our priorities for the development of our North. Under our Arctic foreign policy led by Foreign Minister Baird, Finland is a key partner along with the other Arctic Council member states. Finland and Canada are important business and investment partners. Bilateral trade between our countries is quite strong, and Canadian and Finnish firms partner on a wide range of projects, from shipbuilding to recreational vehicles to telecommunications products. Our economies are stronger because of the linkages that exist across both countries. Finland's reputation for innovation is well deserved. When Canada embarked on the design of its new Arctic patrol vessels for the Royal Canadian Navy and the Canadian Coast Guard's flagship icebreaker, it turned in part to Aker Arctic. Likewise, as mentioned in the remarks by Esko Lotvanen, the mining sector is very important here, and Canadian firms play a leading role. We have a strong reputation for environmentally responsible mining, and this is amplified here in Lapland by the excellent infrastructure and the talented and highly educated workforce. Canadian firms have invested more than $1 billion in the Finnish mining industry. As I've said many times here and elsewhere in Finland, I'm very proud of the corporate social responsibility demonstrated by the Canadian mining companies, and I'm reminded of this by Finnish officials on a regular basis. Canada views Finland as a strong Arctic partner. Thanks in part to our historic connections, we have very similar perspectives on northern opportunities and challenges present in the north. Whether this is through learning more about our northern infrastructure or the forestry industry's approach to renewable energy, we both understand the importance of partnership, trust, cooperation, and building a stronger north. Arctic Council chairmanship, as was mentioned, is in the very capable hands of Sweden. At the Kiruna Ministerial in May, the baton will be passed to Canada, and we will have the honor and privilege of chairing the Arctic Council once again. Our focus is to make sure that the valuable work done thus far by the Council is translated into concrete improvements for the Arctic people and communities. As Minister Agluka discussed with President Niinisto and Foreign Minister Tuomioja, the overarching theme of Canada's tenure as chair of the Arctic Council will be development for the people of the North. The well-being and prosperity of the people living in the North really has to be at the forefront of our Arctic Council chairmanship priorities. With the help of our partners on the Arctic Council, we will focus on creating economic growth, strong, sustainable northern communities, and healthy Arctic ecosystems. Canada has proposed 3 sub-themes to guide this work. The first is responsible Arctic resource development. The development of natural resources is important to the economic future of the Arctic and to the long-term prosperity of its future. The potential for wealth and job creation through resource development in the Arctic is great, something very clear, for example, here in northern Finland. Canada is determined to see northern communities benefit from the economic boom that is unfolding in the region. However, this development must be done in responsible and environmentally sustainable manner so that the land, water, animals, and animals that northern people depend on are not negatively affected. And we believe the Arctic Council must play a strong role in ensuring that this goal is achieved. Canada will continue the work begun during Sweden's tenure as chair to enhance the relationship between the business sector and the Council. Businesses in the Arctic have the experience, the lessons learned, and the best practices to succeed in the circumpolar region in a responsible way. Canada will work with its Arctic Council partners to find more opportunities for the business sector to engage with the Council, to share best practices and lessons that have been learned in the circumpolar region.